How did dialysis change your life?
Tremendously. It changed my whole lifestyle. I was a very active person. I owned restaurants and bars and things like that. And then it just put a stop to all that. And uh, you're locked into the chair 3 days a week, 4 hour shifts, and then you have the hangover and you got rest time and things like that. And so it changed me from being a very active person to a normal, not as active life.
What would you have liked to known prior to starting dialysis?
More about why, how the kidneys function, and I know why they failed. Mine just died from the imaging contrast that was injected into me to see what else was wrong with me, and that killed the kidneys and the whole process. And just to remind you that I was very ill at the time. And matter of fact, when I first started going to the clinic, the nurses came to me just before I got my transplant, and it took 6 years to get my transplant. They said, well, we didn't expect you to live past a month because I was pretty ill, pretty ill. And so maintaining a positive mental attitude was big. But just all my options in kidney dialysis, the commitment, the side effects, things like that I didn't know about. And true, you have people coming around to you while you're sitting in your chair. You get your doctor, your social workers. It goes on and on and on. And then you feel somewhat intimidated by that. So you don't ask a lot of questions at first. You're like, okay, I know this stuff. And it really, you don't. And it was almost a learning experience every day for the 6 years I was in it.
What was your biggest challenge when you were on dialysis?
The biggest challenge was mental attitude. That was half the battle. You go there. I was a morning person, so I took the early shift. I wanted to get dialysis out of the way for the day, and so I would be in the chair at 6 o'clock, and then you get out at 10 o'clock, and then you go home and maybe eat breakfast, and then rest, and then by then it's probably about 2 o'clock, and the day's almost shot, and so being tired and not as active as productive as you wanted to be was a problem. And mental stability, keeping a positive attitude. You could sit there and be all poor me and stuff like that, but it went against my own fundamental rules in life to give into this. And so I fought it. And then also, I didn't want to let down the people in my life that I really loved. And so that's important too. If you're going through any treatment like this, as serious as it is, you need a good support group at home. And for me, that was my brother, my wife, and my wife first, and then my brother, and then I had just an incredible next door neighbor who was there all the time. Because I was very weak, I would fall down, and my wife couldn't always pick me up, and so she'd come over and pick me up, and all those kind of things. But that had nothing to do with the dialysis. But that was a point in my life where there was a lot of things going against me, and then picking out, and then they brought up, well, when you're healthy enough, then you could go and try to get applied for a kidney transplant, and that's a whole other story.
When you were on dialysis, were you able to continue to do the activities that you enjoyed in life?
Actually, I was able to do more in other aspects. As far as being able to travel, I love traveling. No, it's very difficult to travel when you're on dialysis because you have to contact a dialysis clinic somewhere where you're going. And generally, when you plan a vacation, you plan maybe 6 months in advance, maybe a year. Well, they will only give you a decision like a week before, most kidney dialysis centers. And then you have your private centers, and then you have your hospital type centers. And there's a big difference. In every facility I went to, some were good, some were better, and some were worse. And they all have different standards and how they do things and stuff like that. And so it was interesting in that point to experience those different types of things in dialysis. But getting back to your question, I found this time to take on things I've never been able to do before. I focused in on self-enrichment, and I always liked music, and I never learned to play a musical instrument. And so at the time I was 55, 56, whatever it was. I can't remember. The mind goes too. But so I got involved with a musical group organization in the La Crosse area, and I learned to play a musical instrument. And then I tried to learn to sing. I mean, I can tolerate myself. The dogs don't howl in the neighborhood when I sing, but it was just an enrichment that I took on, and also expanded some skills that I had learned before, such as carpentry and things. You had time to do those fundamental things. I was just fortunate enough I didn't have to work to maintain my lifestyle. My wife did a good job of that for me. And for things like that, I could never pay her back or say, I love you so much. I mean, there's just some things you can't pay back in life. So you try to just be a better person. And also, you have tons and tons of time to reflect. And it's one thing being a patient, you become a professional waiter. I mean, you wait, you go to an appointment, you have lots of appointments, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, you know. So you'll learn tolerance, hopefully, and it's hard because you're not feeling good and you want to get out of there. And so you have to work on those type of skills, you know, all part of the mental exhaustion that you go through, because it is exhausting, and many times it's painful, and there are setbacks. And so you just need a good support group in your life. And besides the doctors, so I had excellent doctors. And then in dialysis, well, in my journey through the medical thing was I liked all my doctors, but there was one I just didn't particularly care for. Not saying he was a bad doctor, but I just didn't care for his bedside manners, let's just say that. And Gunderson didn't ask questions. They said, okay, we'll find you another. Who do you like? And so I said, well, I like this one particular doctor. And it was no problem, no questions, no shaming. So you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your health care. I mean, you have to ask questions, and you don't like things, change things, get a second opinion.